Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Sharon. So we'll talk this morning about governing. Why the season that we're in with the Lord, um, well, really demanding that we come up higher and recognize ourselves as sons and daughters, wife of the Lamb, no more engagement, no more bridal thought, but to see ourselves as the wife of the Lamb. So why does, when you're looking at what season the Lord has you in, where he's at, um, and what season you're in, and if they align or not, right? Because you can be in two different locations simultaneously and not be aware of it. You can be in his presence and not aware of it. He's in everything. So, in everything. And I think that we've seen that if you are in his presence, everything leads to freedom with him. Everything leads to righteousness, peace, and joy. That's the kingdom of God, righteousness, peace, and joy. So, if the kingdom is righteousness, peace, and joy, well, then I have to be righteousness, peace, and joy. And I have to be in that kingdom of righteousness, peace, and joy all the time, abiding in him, with him. I am inhabited by him. He has arrested me. He has pulled me away from my normal activity, my normal time, and I'm arrested by him, although I'm still moving in it. Okay. So in rabbinical thought, freedom is never absence of the law. It's the internalization of the law. The law is now moving within you and reigning and ruling. And the sages consistently taught that true freedom comes when you have the Torah written on your heart. That's that internalization of the word, the internalization of the structure and foundation and wisdom the word gives us. When it's internalized, then it's written on the heart. And that is why when you study about the Ten Commandments, it said it carried that. That's what engraved means. It means that it was into it. It was carved, engraved into it, this righteousness, peace, and joy for which there will be no end. But they were read, when they were read, it was read as freedom. So when you loose the internalization of the word, it releases freedom when you read it. It was always oral, read out loud. There was a reason for that. Silent reading is not really internalization, it's consumption. So freedom is not rebellion from structure, but it's alignment with design. So when we say where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom, what that means is there's alignment with design, and from that comes freedom. So you can break a lot of rules and be in freedom. Yeshua and his disciples eating the grain when they were walking along the road on the Sabbath. Well, they picked something that was work. So, that was looked at as rule breaking, right? But freedom is not rebellion from structure, it's alignment with design. And you have to understand where the Spirit of the Lord is so you can quickly discern if this is rebellion from structure or alignment back to the original design, right? So that is what happened when, Paul being trained under Gamaliel, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. He's functioning squarely within the framework of Galatians 5, which we talked about yesterday. It's for freedom that Messiah has set us free. Galatians 5:1. It's for freedom. It's for freedom that Messiah set us free. So if we're not in freedom, if we're still bound underneath rules and not relationship, then we're never going to have true freedom. It's not been engraved in us yet. It's not in us yet. This understanding has not birthed and it's not set up a foundational framework in my life yet. So why are we talking about all of this with the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic system that the Father has us in this school of healing and discernment? It's all one. There's no separation. You have to know where and how to access freedom and how to return to it and get to peace, righteousness, joy, and your body helps do that. So what we're doing in all of this, where I believe the Lord has me, if not the rest of you, maybe you're just along for the ride, but this is not a call backward to the law. It's not, it's not even calling me forward into lawlessness. And that's where the body went south. You know, when Christ came, it wasn't a call back to Sinai, nor was it a call forward into something new. It was a declaration that the season of external compulsion had ended for those who had reached maturity. So, this is what God is trying to get this message into us. It's a declaration. God is declaring to us that the season of you having external compulsion has ended. Quit looking for an external fix. You're only going to find it internally. That's where he's at. If you're looking for an external fix, you're going to get it, but it's not going to be of him. You're going to get a weakened down, watered down counterfeit. And that's for the immature. The immature still need external compulsion. They still need the carrot leading them and guiding them. They still need to be halter broke and blanket broke and saddle broke and all those things where Christ has called us to be leg reined. He doesn't even want a bridle or a halter on us anymore. He wants us to be able to feel when he moves, we move. And that's what reining means. It means I am picking up on his least little movement of him wrapped around me. And when he moves, I move. That's maturity. You don't need the carrot anymore. You don't need external compulsion. You need the zeal of the Spirit and only the zeal of the Spirit. But you have to introduce yourself back to Echad, back to 3 and 1 for this to be mature. So when you shift from immaturity, childhood, I love the word that they give it in Hebrew, it's catnut. So you you go from catnut, immaturity and childhood to galut, which is maturity and adulthood. So children require rules. That's the immature. Legalism is out there for children. Okay. So when everybody started combating against legalism and the rules, what they were feeling, they weren't rebelling against the rules. They were rebelling against their childlike state. And Christ was, the whole entire globe was being called to come up and no longer operate by rules, but by nature. Sons and daughters operate by nature. They're formed in the image of God, so they act in the image of God. They move in the image of God. They think in the image of God. They don't let nature to rule and reign them. External things are no longer making me react or respond. I'm internally dealing with everything first in the kingdom of God before I present it to the world. Things happen inside the kingdom that you have to decide things. You have to roundtable with the Lord. You have to make policies for yourself, regulations for yourself, and then you present them outward. These are my boundaries, right? So if I'm looking at this personally, I'm sitting down with myself this year and I'm thinking, okay, I'm no longer a child. I was once a child. I once thought like a bride, like I had time to get ready, but no, the wedding's already happened. I'm the wife. Bam, it's like that, right? I had all my life to get ready. Was I ready or was I found wanting? Was my wick not trimmed? Was my oil not there? This is where we're at. It's you no longer have time to get it. You should have already got it. So Christ is saying, you got this. So now I need you to walk in it. It's not that you're not there, it's just you haven't internalized that yet, that you truly are a son and daughter who operates by nature and not by rules. So I'm going to listen to what his nature tells me to do. So when, Galatians 5 aligns prophetically with the journey from really Pesach to Shavuot. So you can look at that journey time of what you're usually going through from between Pesach and Shavuot and realize, okay, this is kind of where I'm at now. So this is a wilderness that's not punishment, but training. It's a womb season. So for between Pesach and Shavuot, you have a womb season, and that's where God has had us. But it's also this womb season is where Israel learned to walk by the presence rather than by the taskmasters. They didn't have to have taskmasters telling them what to do. They walked by presence now. I don't have anybody telling me what to do. I have to walk by what the Father says to do in his presence. And if I'm not in his presence, I need to catch up real quick. So when you look at Paul in Galatians 5, and what Jesus is doing right now. What's the Lord doing right now? Well, the same as Paul. He's addressing believers who want to return to Egypt's system, external markers, identity through performance, belonging through compliance. He warns them that embracing circumcision as identity is a regression in season, not an elevation. So going under the law is not embracing, and that's why I see so many people move from Christianity to a messianic lifestyle, and they actually get locked in more oppression because they're embracing circumcision, they're embracing the laws, the times, the seasons, but they've regressed in their identity. Not all do that, but some do that. And they get back underneath following the trail, following the external markers. And that's not bad. That should be for a season. That's what we progress, right? He moves us from level to level to level. And it's okay to follow that until you understand it, but it has to internalize and it can't just be an external thing. You're not just doing it to do it. Your body's now in a rhythm and nobody has to tell you it's Pesach or Shavuot. You're walking in it. You already know. You know it's you have an internal calendar now. So what you're not looking to get under Hebraic calendars. You're looking to get underneath a kingdom calendar because there are a bazillion calendars. If I tried to figure out which was the right calendar externally, I would be chasing and be so confused and overwhelmed. And there's a time when he kind of has you figure that out. So he does have you start following the trails of the calendars and when they got off. And you need to know your history and how it happened, because if you don't identify how it happened to the masses, you'll never identify how it can happen to you. So, we're Galatians 5:4, Paul says you're trying to be justified by the Torah. If that's what's justifying you, you've fallen from grace. So if by keeping rules you think somebody is justified, then you're in trouble. And that's the place where we have to be very, very careful about our legalism because we've been taught to look at sin as a weight and a scale for righteousness. But grace is not mercy, it's divine positioning. So a lot of times we have grace and mercy confused, two different things. Grace is not mercy, it's divine positioning. So when you fall out of alignment with the time they were in. So what Paul was saying, you're outside of where the Lord's at. You're outside of what he's doing. You're outside of time. So, when we look at the flesh versus the spirit, what Western theology often misreads as the flesh, it as a sinful body. We see the flesh as something sinful, but that's incorrect. Your flesh is not simple. It represents the self-directed strength, not evil. Flesh is not evil. It was made in the image of God. It's represents self-directed strength. Even the Torah observance can be flesh if it's powered by ego, fear, or identity insecurity. And that's, what you have to realize is sometimes identity insecurity and fear and ego can lead you into observing things that are God like, but they're not God, right? Keeping the Sabbath is God like, right? It's not God. You can keep the Sabbath and not make it holy, right? You can do things, but not be doing them in real remembrance of Him because you've never established relationship with that. Maybe you've never established relationship with Him in communion, so it's just another ritual. It's not, you don't have reverence and awe for it. You don't have reverence and awe for worship, so you're able to chit chat and talk while other people are fully at the feet of the Father. You don't have a reverence for that because you just have not encountered Him in it, and therefore a reverence has never been established in you. So, we'll look for things when we are not established in Him. And when you're not established, well, then there's always going to be ego, fear, and identity insecurity. So what we see is we see a lot of flesh in the body of Christ right now, a lot of self-directed strength, which is not evil. It's just not under His power. So it's ran by ego, fear, and identity insecurity. So that's why people are jealous of one another and they're clamoring to get over, and they're racing to see who can have 3,000 likes or whatever it is. What the sages taught was inclination is not removed. This self-directed strength, it's not removed, it's mastered through alignment, so that your self-directed strength becomes spirit-directed strength in alignment. We still want to have our self-directed strength. It just has to be underneath the presence of the Father. So it's mastered through being with Him. And Paul mirrors this, exactly. He says, walk by the Spirit, and you'll not fulfill the desires of the flesh. You won't be able to.
Mm,
It's not suppression. You're not suppressing the self. It's superior governance. So you're not trying to behavior modify. I'm not trying to stop doing something in my own strength. I'm getting into the place where the mature bride, I don't need constant correction because I've learned the king's ways, right? So the Father is saying, quit trying to strong man this. You're not strong enough to do this. You can't master these things that have a stronghold on you. I need you to do it with my strength. Admit your weakness, walk by the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the desires of the flesh. So all you have to do is say, when I'm weak, He's strong, and admit your weakness and your reverence for that, and just say, God, you got this. I got to get my hands off of this. So the fruit of the Spirit is evidence of seasonal readiness. You have to test your readiness to enter into something divine. If you're nervous about it, if it makes you feel rushed or pressured, and there's not freedom on it, and there's still, maybe you're not quite ready. I've got to be in His presence fully secure before I take the first step, right? They just all didn't run out into the Red Sea. They waited for it to part,
mm,
right? And no tree, basically we're not judged by our intention. No tree is judged by intention. No vine is rust by command. I'm looking at how to be ready in the season, and I'm not judging the intention of the tree. It might, I'm not rushing the vine by command. How does fruit emerge? Fruit emerges when there's a root established. So first you have to develop the framework. Then you have to be in the right season for the fruit to emerge. You may be looking for fruit, but this is winter. Okay. So what season is it in the natural may not be where you're at in the spirit. You could be in the spring in the spirit. He could be moving in the spring right now in you. And we can all be walking in different seasons at the same time, by the way.
mm,
So, he's varied, and we're diverse, and we're unique, and we're all born into this path at a different time. So I have to look for the root, the season, the light, the water, and that is all aligned. That's when the fruit emerges. So what's the root? What's the root? The purpose. What's the purpose, right? And the season, right? Is this the time to plant, to sow, to water, to harvest? Like I have to know that. And this all can be happening in very different ways, in very different relationships in your life. You could be in a winter season with somebody, and you could be in a revival season with somebody else, right? A spring season, a life-giving season, or a rest season with somebody else. It's time to rest in this for a little while. We just need to rest where we're at. So the ninefold fruit that Paul lists in Galatians 4 is really the flow of what we have to do of mature character in these covenantal rulers and reigners in us. We have to understand that mature character is ruled and reigned in covenant with love, with joy. Joy is rooted in trust. You can't have righteousness, peace, or joy if you still have trust issues. So this may be a season where you need to push into love, right? You look at those nine mature characteristics and they're a flow, right? They're a flow into the very bottom one, which is, what they call self-control. But you have to walk through love, joy, peace, patience, godlike restraint. That's what patience is. That I'm slow to anger. I don't sin in it. I still have anger, but I slowly get to it because I'm processing for 21 days before I ever even make a judgment on something. That's godlike restraint. I understand that I am made in the image of the Father and that He does nothing by reacting. He's very slow to respond. Why did it take 21 days when Daniel prayed for the answer to get there? Right? I have to understand that there's some godlike restraint and not everything needs to happen right now, even if I think it does. The next is kindness. Well, if I don't have love, joy, peace, and patience, I cannot do anything external. So that when you look at these fruits, most of these are internal until you get to kindness. Well, kindness is internal too, because the first person you have to be kind to is yourself, right? You're receiving His love, His joy, His peace, His kindness, His goodness, His faithfulness, His gentleness, and His self-control. Your self-control is the crown. Kings are not known by power, they're known by restraint. How long they can hold back before they can do anything, that they're not pressed by outside stimuli. They're not moving because somebody said or felt like they should have done something. They're waiting for the king to give them a directive. And self-control is the crown of all this. So, I have to look at these nine fruits as I'm walking through everything today. Have I built the foundation for love, joy, peace, and patience so that I have godlike restraint and I can move now in kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and therefore I have self-control. All of these things are established in me before I speak, before I do, because I'm only doing and saying what I've done with the Father first. Paul ends with, against these things there is no law, meaning the Torah has completed its tutoring role here, and now you're ready to self-govern. There's a point where the Father commissions you, and He says that the Torah has completed its tutoring role right here, and now you're ready to self-govern. I've sealed you in as a son and a daughter, as my wife, and you've been completed in this Torah tutoring to this point, and now I'm going to let you self-govern because you're ready. This is not a teaching for beginners that He brought us through. It was a summoning for those crossing over from bride to wife. So what the Spirit is saying, I believe this is the prophetic word that I'm getting from all of this to discern the time for the Issachar timing. Stop outsourcing your discernment. Stop identifying through external validation and stop revisiting foundations that were meant for earlier seasons. Galatians 5 declares that you're no longer managed, you're entrusted. And the war between the flesh and the spirit is not about sin, it's about who governs. So this is the season where the Father says, if you're led by the Spirit, you are not under the tutor. Not because the Torah failed, but because the Torah succeeded. There is a time when wow, okay, Now I'm ready to sit beside him. You're now carrying the Torah. You're able to take a seat beside the Father. That's what he said. The Torah did not fail for you, it succeeded. So now you're no longer under the tutor, you're under me. You are no longer being mentored. You are a full-fledged active member of the kingdom of heaven, and you're to rule and reign accordingly. So what I want to say here is what I believe the Father, is really trying to get to all of us in this is don't measure your faith by activity. Measure it by fruit over time. Okay?
Oh, bless you.
Excuse me. And
Bless you.
allow that measurement for yourself. Okay? So I may have manifested today, but I have to see what's produced for 21 days from that, right? And be that, we use the word manifest for good and bad. So, when I'm manifesting the Spirit of God and the fruit of the Spirit is manifesting and it's evident, then, that's not, not measuring that by activity. I'm looking at the time. We're going to have to look at time. And if you've been taught not to have any remembrances, not to remember things, just keep moving from one thing to another, and you never even bring up what happened last week, right? You don't have a review. So what happens with well, one of the big deficits is there's no review in the church. We go from sermon to sermon to sermon, and we never review what we've done with the last sermon. So we don't have a remembrance of it. We just heard it, we left, we didn't do anything with it all week. We just come in and get another one. We don't do anything with that sermon. We just keep on doing it, right? And
Mhm.
so we just keep on hearing, but we never become doers. So you have to have accountability. You have to have somebody that says, hey, I know they don't do this at church, but let's do this together. Let's do something with the word that we heard yesterday. And let's see what fruit forms in time from this. And then I just keep on adding and adding and adding. I don't let go of the message from the previous week that I got. I'm adding to it because it's over time. It's a watering, it's a sunlight, it's all of these things and I have to keep them all together moving in alignment so that, when the stronghold has to go, it's been a domino effect, right? It's been a domino effect. One step in front of the other has caused the domino stronghold to fall. So the king's not looking for servants who obey him under pressure. Anybody can obey a king under pressure. He's forming a wife who moves in rhythm with him, that he doesn't have to give an edict to, that the wife just knows, okay, let's get up. This is what we do when we get up. This is our routine together, Father. And I'm the wife, I'm the keeper. So I establish that rhythm of the temple of God. This
Mm.
is what time we have worship. This is what time, we have the sermon. This is what time we pray. This is what time we dance. This is what time we celebrate. This is what day I mikvah. I establish for me the kingdom of God for which there is no end, right? But he's looking for for servants who obey with a rhythm and are in the rhythm with him that he doesn't have to boss around all the time, right? He just wants somebody who's moving in rhythm with him. He doesn't want, we've got to the point, it was once lovely to be a child where he had to tell me what to do, and there were rules that I had to follow, but he got me to a point, and now I'm a big girl now, right? So those who belong to the Messiah have already crucified the flesh, not by striving, but by yielding to his authority. I just yield to his authority. I've wrestled with him enough to know he trumps me. I yield to his authority. This week's portion of the Torah really, and Galatians 5 called us higher to go from effort to essence and from instruction to intuition and from betrothal to union. I have to walk worthy of the season that I'm in, and this is the season that we're in. And the Spirit is not testing us, he's trusting us. He's saying, I trust you. Sit down beside me now. You have enough of the tutoring within you to now rule and reign with me. Well done, my good and faithful servant, right? This is basic salvation. This is you partaking of what I did for you, right? Thank you. You finally said yes to this freedom that I died for you. So, we're now for maybe for the first time walking in his name when we come to this position. This is where you are able to govern and have authority because now you can actually rule and reign because you're coming in his name. We're not dismissing anything that he's done. We're testifying. It's a testimony to what he's created. So don't dismiss the creation. You have to go back and look what he's formed in you this last year. This is how you transition from one place of understanding in who you are. You have to perceive your identity. You have to assure that your understanding has realigned you into the authority of who you are in this new season because you carry a new title. You carry a responsibility that you didn't have 6 months ago. Before 6 months ago, had he ever told you to come behold yourself as the wife of the Lamb? So all of creation reacts. We have to react. And we have to react to his time, his seasons, his divine movement. That's what creation reacts to, him. Creation follows these rules. We're above parts of creation. He made us different. So the heavens declare the glory of the Lord, the heavens, the glory, the firmament, the earth shows his handiwork, all he put together, right? The earth trembles at his presence, and all creation groans, awaiting the revealing of the sons of God. That's us. So this is not poetic fluff. This is what holds the cosmos together. It's what the cosmos responds to. It's not autonomous. The cosmos is not autonomous. It's autonomous, all responsive to him. The heavens are not causals. They don't make things happen. They are the signposts. Okay. So it doesn't make it happen. We've been taught that the moon is the gravitational pull. Well, yeah, but it's responding to it autonomously. It's not responding like that. It's responding to the heavens, to the Father. It's saying, this is what the Father is doing. It's a marker. They were created to be markers, not masters. And the sun and the moon were given for appointed times, not governance of human destiny. So, you have to be careful as you're going and learning about creation that you don't start worshiping what he created and not letting it rule and reign you. And that's kind of the problem of a lot of us. We are meant to be worshipers, so we worship just about everything, just about everything. So we have to be very careful that nothing trumps his presence and our relationship with him. So, we have to be careful when people establish sovereignty to things like the moon. That's why it feels weird, right, when you see the moon worshipers. And they've given too much sovereignty to the moon, just like we gave too much sovereignty to the cross, right? The cross became an idol. The representation of it became an idol, and people will worship a cross and have reverence over the cross, but in the same exact moment be able to blaspheme it and not allow people to have freedom. So that's what legalism does. It keeps you underneath looking at the rules as sovereign and the rules as having authority. And the direction of the rules is what's leading you. And that is what initiates the energetic fields, right? So when you have other things like the moon and the planets and the cosmos directing you, that's as much energetic field as you're going to have. You're going to have as much as a sign. That's the authority that you carry is just a sign. you don't carry what it's pointing to, you just carry the sign. So it's not biblical sovereignty that you carry, even if the effects feel real, because they are having real effects to these things that they're doing, but it's not biblical sovereignty. So it's just a counterfeit. And so what happens is you can confuse the messenger with the sender, just like you can start worshiping and following somebody and elevating them to the messenger, but that's not the sender. We're to worship the one who sent the message, not the one who gives the message. So the moon does not gather sovereignty, neither does mankind. The moon reflects the light, it doesn't generate it. So, we can reflect the light, and sometimes people have never seen the light. So the most thing that they can do is reflect the image of it and worship the image of it. So people start to think higher of humanity than they actually are. We elevate people's opinions above God's uh, governance over us. It doesn't matter what you think. I'm doing and saying what God told me to say and do. I'm not free ranging here. So any increase in intensity is not because creation's free ranging, but because God is accelerating exposure. God is accelerating exposure. So, government is shifting from systems to sons. And that's what cannot be shaken. Systems can always be shaken, sons cannot. So, we're not going to be able to look at astrology or even eschatological pressure. We're looking at end of era recalibration here. It's not end time hysteria, it's an end of an era recalibration. So when you see everybody, what looks like end time hysteria, when you look at people, marrying cats and not knowing if they're a boy or a girl, we're looking at a complete end of the era recalibration. All of creation is trying to get back to the original design. And if they don't know how to follow the Father and they don't have the Torah internalized, well, of course they're going to be lost. It's going to be confusion. They're picking up on what's happening, but they have no idea how to recalibrate. They can't. They don't have what it takes to recalibrate, and they're going to spin out of control until they combust. That's just what happens. When you don't carry a centrifugal governance inside of you that grounds you and roots you, and you don't have the rooting and the grounding, you're going to spin out of control. So you have the emotional surfacing, you have memory activation where they are triggered, even though they don't even have memories. You have people linking and joining into other people's memories that they have no even idea. You see white people losing their crap over black situations, right? They think they've done joined in to where they think they're black, and vice versa. We have bonded with other people's traumas, other people's situations, and that's not compassion. Okay, that's something's off on that. That's not recalibrating. Recalibrating is having compassion, but you don't believe you are part of that. That's not, you don't all of a sudden think you're black, right? So you have to look at emotional surfacing. What's surfacing? Is it healthy? What memories are being activated? What exposure of insecurity is coming up that aligns far more with the word than I have an alarm going off. I think my husband will get that. So, we're not looking at understanding creation so much. I'm looking at what creation's doing. It's a marker, but it's responding because mature authority is being demanded. So if I see creation responding and doing things, then I have to realize, okay, this is a marker. This is what's going on. Let's not get out of bounds here. Let's figure out what's sovereign because I don't want a complete collapse of containment structures. What I want here is whatever, the correction is whatever is ungoverned has to be governed by him. Whatever's uncontained needs to be contained by him so that I'm walking in liberation and anointing. I'm walking in freedom. I understand that him containing and governing me is where alignment is no longer chaos, it's freedom. So I'm moving beyond the bounds of normal rules now. True sovereignty is never self-derived. It's a stewardship under submission. So I have to know he's called me sovereign. He's commissioned me to be sovereign now. And that's why if you're led by the Spirit, you're no longer under the tutor. You're not under the stars. You're not under the cycles. You're not under fear. You're not under mystical momentum. You're under the Spirit. The Spirit is guiding you, not the crystals, not any of the other stuff. That all is there for a sign. It's not bad. It's not evil. But if you put sovereignty on it, it does become that way because you're now going to worship it and use it to guide and direct you instead of just being a sign. I do want it to guide and direct me. I want to read the sign and I want to say thank you, appreciate that, needed that. So that's where the crossroad appears, right? Who I follow is where the crossroads appear. You shall not lift your eyes to the heavens and be drawn away. That's what the Father says. You shall not lift your eyes to the heavens and be drawn away. Why? Because reverence always shapes allegiance. Don't be blown away by that. Like everybody can get lost in the numbers, they can get lost in the angels, they can get lost in the stars, they can get lost in the frequencies and the energy and the plants and the herbs and the oils. They can be taken over and put sovereignty on all of that. But if you don't keep it sovereign underneath the Lord, well, then just all you have is a bunch of witchcraft. So the season is indeed about who we listen to. But the answer is not cosmic intelligence, it's the voice of the shepherd. So creation points, it's got a purpose. You have to know its purpose. Creation points, the sons govern and God leads, right? So we have to understand these things and looking at what God is telling us here. We're not entering into a year of initiation. Yes, it's a year of initiation. You've been initiated as the wife. This is what is happening. You've been initiated as the wife. Your shackles are loosening, your courage is required, and your emotional truth is surfacing. But the call is not to reclaim personal sovereignty because it's to step into delegated authority. So what happens when you start loving yourself and understanding the kingdom of God is in here? People often start putting personal sovereignty in there. There's a part of it. You are sovereign. You are sovereign. The king does reside in you, but it's not personal. You're stepping into a delegated authority. There's a vast difference. So one person can enthrone themselves, but the other person enthrones the king and releases the self from striving. So, we can't be afraid of the shaking that's going on, but we can't romanticize it either. Creation's not awakening to humanity. Humanity is being summoned to maturity. And maturity will have part of growing mature is awakening back under the understanding of the purpose of creation. So creation has always been there. And we have to see it and honor it for what it was created for. But we don't read the heavens for instruction. We read them for confirmation. We already have the spirit within us. We're in relationship with the Father. We're talking with him, and the heavens are just a sign for confirmation. So the spirit's not heightening energy, he's clarifying alignment. That's what's happening now. That energy has always been there. He's just now trying to clarify those that can align with him versus a false energy. So this is not a season to follow the glow. It's a season to walk as light. You're not following a glow. You are the glow. You have to walk as the light. And only sons, not stars, are entrusted with the earth, with the nations. So, God is saying, I'm entrusting you, and that's why I'm showing you all of these things. I don't need you to be scared of them. I've made them for you. So don't neglect them or reject them because you're rejecting me. I've made them. I've made them for you. Don't reject them. Don't be fearful of them, but don't let them rule and reign you either. You have to learn how to still be ruling and reigning with me while understanding these other signs around you. So I believe that's where we're at. That's where I'm at. Um, and I think it's important for each of us to talk about where we're at with everything the Lord's been doing with us together and speak from our own platform. So this week, I would like everybody to, if you only have 5 minutes to talk, take 5 minutes to talk and tell everybody where you're at with this new year, where you're at, where you think we're at with him as one with what he's been teaching all of us. So that's what I would like to see happen this week. And we'll start that tomorrow. And so I'm just going to open the floor tomorrow and y'all jump in and start talking about where you're at with this new year, what he's shown you this last year, what you're opening up to and revealing, and that's being revealed to you, and show where you have got to with the Father with all this. Bring your part to the table, your stew.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Connie, I came into this late, and so I'm not understanding how we got to be to the bride already without dying. You
Well, we
know,
died.
oh,
We died on the cross with Christ, by the way. You just have to
okay.
receive that. So,
Yeah,
we've been taught you have to strive to die and you got to die, you got to die. And that's scripture. You have to die daily. But that's just admitting what happened on the cross, that I died with Christ on the cross. I've already died. It's not something I got to do. I just have to receive that freedom.
and you didn't become the bride till you were in heaven.
Yeah, that's not
And
true. Yeah. So
uh,
so that's poor theology. And people were taught that you don't, that you only become the fullness of Christ when you die. That's not true. You're perfected. You're perfected, but the fullness of Christ is with you now. It was with you the moment you said yes. And we just have to let it be. But Paul, in Revelations, it says, behold. You can't behold something that's not there. Behold the wife of the Lamb. And that's not way off in the distance. That's you needing to behold that you are the wife of the Lamb, that you're governed to rule and reign here on earth with the Father and advance the kingdom now, not just in heaven, that he's not some far off God. And, what I tell everybody is read Father Son theology. Jump in on Thursday nights with us, whether you have the book or not, just go ahead and jump in and listen so you can get some of this junk that's been bathed over you, um, get scriptural, because we were taught a bunch of unbiblical truths that were not truths. They had enough truth, like the enemy, to sell us a salvation that wasn't beneficial. And that's why a lot of people left the church, because it's not beneficial. What they have been taught is Christianity and the word. So I'm going to say some things on here that are different than what you've been taught, because it was different than what I was taught. And had to go and clean it all up. But, if you want to, you're more than welcome to join us on Thursdays. Just let me know you want the Zoom link. And we're talking this week and last week about the doctrine of original sin, which is ginormous. If you can get the bad doctrine about sin broke off of you, you truly walk into your freedom and it's just beautiful. But Kathy, I'll probably say a lot of things that are going to be a lot of against a lot of things that you were taught, because I was probably taught the same thing as you, and the Lord broke it off me. So he's looking for people who can rule and reign as sons and daughters, to really be betrothed, um, as one. I want them to be as one as we are one, Father. That's Christ's prayer. So now he didn't say, when they die, when they leave heaven, what he said is, I don't want you to take them out of this world. I want you to do it right here. That's what Christ said. And that's what he prayed. I want them to be one as we are one. Not that you would take them out of this world.
Hmm.
They would be one right here, right now with us. Okay. So that's just what I believe. And everybody's at a different place, and you don't have to believe what I believe. It just whatever you encounter, but make sure that it's what the Father's taught you. So yeah, it messes people up. Really it jacked me up when I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're calling me to be the wife of the Lamb? Wait, that's that's gone somewhere I ain't even thought about going before. So yeah, it was quite a I was scared to even say it for a long time. It took a lot for me to get past that fear of what people were going to think when I read revelations like that. And um I was even scared myself. Was I tapping over? And I think we always do that when he takes us to another level of understanding of the word, when he breaks through, over 50 layers of the Torah of the word, when he breaks through another level and takes us to another place, we're kind of scared of it for a while, and we have to test it and make sure that it's accurate. So, um, yeah. And you can go south with that too. I know a lot of people who went south with that. Um, but it's just making sure that you're balanced and that you're in peace, righteousness, and joy. And when you are, you just know. It's one of those things that's in your knower. I can't explain it. I'm just going along with it, letting it governing and take control of me. So I'm still, we're still in this because he knows we still don't believe it. Okay. Because he walked us through how many weeks of the Wife of the Lamb series. And Kathy, that's something you can go back and do, is the Wife of the Lamb series is on YouTube. We recorded most of it, but how we got there and how he walked us through that and is still walking us through that. But he wouldn't still have us here if we believed it. We'd be moving on to something else, right? So this is where we're at, is really believing that's my identity. So even going back and, re-listening to some of that Wife of the Lamb stuff, rereading some of those things that I sent out might not be a bad thing, because it's not settled, because he's still saying you're not there, you're not believing. So if until we believe and perceive, we'll be like David, still believing we're a shepherd and we're sitting on a throne, right?
Hmm.
So I don't want to have shepherd mentality. I don't want to have servant mentality if he's called me to be the wife. I'm always going to be serving him, but he's called me
Yeah.
to step up this year. Step up. I need you to be governing with me, to walk with me. I want you to be with me, walking with me. And that's a beautiful thing, to be asked to do that. So it's a blessing and an honor, and we really need to press into it, because if we don't believe it, that he's really asked us to walk with him and to govern and rule and reign, then,
Would
it's
help me
going,
understand. So is it kind of like Mary and Joseph? They were married, but their marriage wasn't consummated. So the marriage will be consummated in heaven. Is that kind of, it's like a betrothal, like they were considered
no,
husband. No.
yeah. So for me, there is no more. I don't believe that there's something greater for me now, Kathy. I don't believe that, I think it'll be perfected, but I believe it now. I'm not waiting. What he said is I'm done. There's no more time. He told me for years to get the body of Christ off the playground and into the wedding chamber to get prepared. They were out there playing around and weren't getting prepared. And then, he told me, I don't know how long ago now, he said, There's no longer quit. Don't call them off anymore. Um, they're they're walking down the road. There's nothing you can do. Close them in and tell them that there's no longer time for them to even, this is the wedding right now. The wedding's right now, Connie. And I need you to become the wife. Walk them into becoming the wife, to governing, to ruling and reigning with me, to see themselves as a co-heir, that what I did for them, and now we're co-heirs with Christ. I'm with him now. So for me, there's nothing else left. I've already done it. It's done. It'll be perfected in heaven, but I have already had the wedding. I have walked down the aisle. I walked down the aisle with the Lord years before I ever realized what he was doing with me. I had the wedding a long time ago. A long time ago. He walked me right down the aisle, lifted up the thing, and kissed me flat on the face. Had the wedding. But I never grasped that I was then the wife. I still stayed I even at the wedding, I was embarrassed. And he was showing me how I felt about myself, that I thought I was too war torn. My thing was, Father, even if I don't make it, I want to war and help you get everybody there. So, in my mind, I had made a commitment without even realizing it that I wasn't going to make it. I was just going to get everybody else there. That was me partnering with the belief that I still was not going to be good enough. I was good enough for the fight because that's what people honored. People honored the fight in me. They wanted me around when there was a whole bunch of demonic activity or there was hell breaking loose. Call her. She's our last effort. She's crazy enough to probably be able to get rid of this. That's when people would call me when there was a fight. That was the only time they honored me. So I established that in myself. Well, then I'm only good enough if the church only will call me when there's a fight behind closed doors, never publicly. I'm always, the sneaky thing that you bring in. That's how I was treated in the church. So that's what I thought God thought of me too, because
Mm.
I was seeing myself through the eyes of the priest. I still had synagogue sickness. I still thought I needed other people to recognize me. What I needed was to be recognized by the Father. So I hope that helps kind of give an understanding of why, God had to, even he had to show me. I was at the wedding and didn't even realize it. I still took me years to realize it. But what he told me was he loved this aroma. This was the aroma of his bride. This was what every bride smelled like, the sweat, the tears, the muck, the vomit, the blood, the gore. That's how I saw myself. And he had to tell me, I want this. You're who I want. You're the one I want. I don't want all the pretty people that smell like vanilla and are white. I don't want that. I want you with your dinged up, nasty smelling, sweaty self that has fought and done everything possible to get me what you thought you could never be. You love me enough. You didn't even care if you made it. You just wanted me to make sure that I got the best bride that I could possibly have. And so, working all this personally with the word through the years has got me to where I am today. And today, I'm still understanding, I still see myself as a grasshopper a lot of times. And whatever I see myself is how the world's going to see me. So because I believed that nobody really wanted me unless there was a battle, then I stayed in war mode because that was the only thing I was good for was a fight, right? So I had to realize, wait a minute, I've let this natural thing direct how I am spiritually. People and the church has got to mold and make me instead of the Father. I gave them the permission to do that. And I had to take that back and say, wait a minute, he says who I am. He made me. I'm in his image. I can't be in their image. I can't be in, Smith Wigglesworth's image. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not who I am. There'll never be another Smith Wigglesworth. You can't have somebody else's mantle because there's only one person who could ever carry it. That person was them, right? I can learn from them. I can take it and run like Elijah did with Elijah, with Elisha took it and ran and it became 2.0, but that's different. So I hope that makes sense. And I got to get off of here because I got to leave and get to work. But I love you guys. And tomorrow you guys talk where you're at. You've heard my story, where I'm at with being the wife of the Lamb. Bring your part because you don't have to be where I'm at. You can't be where I'm at. You have to be where you're at, where he's walking with you. So, and doing that and sharing that where each one of us are at, we'll kind of see collectively where the body's at and know where to go. Okay?
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. I love you
I
guys.
love you. Bye.
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 Bye.